As a homegrown, community-based organization, ACT relies on volunteers for all the good work that we do. This No Fear Pasta workshop video is no exception. From the chef who gave his time, expertise, and passion about pasta, to the committee members who engaged in the planning for this workshop, to the community members who rolled up their sleeves in the kitchen, and of course the very talented videographer behind the scenes. What are you passionate about? Do you have time, expertise, skills, passion to share with ACT? I'll let you ponder that while you get ready to cut and roll pasta.
Okay, so basically the rustic method, and again, everything here is slow cooking, and everything here is basically what I learned from my grandparents and my parents, is you can let the dough rest for 15 or 20 minutes, half an hour, depending on what you like. My grandmother's rolling pin, or you can use it right away. You don't really have to let it rest if you're in a hurry. The big thing is, if you do set it aside, it's important that you cover it, and I should do that. I don't know if that's going to work. There. Cover it, because you don't want it to get a dried skin kind of texture on top. So my grandmother would do essentially this, rolling it out, turning it around. Flour comes into play. If you've done your dough properly, you'll notice, especially if you're using a pasta machine, that there's little air bubbles trapped inside the dough. And my grandmother always said that you know you've done enough kneading when you've got air pockets trapped inside. The difficult thing about doing your dough this way is that you don't, if you like your pasta very thin, of course you're going to roll it out more, but it's deceiving. It may seem thin to you at one point, but once you've cooked it, you'll find that it's thicker than you might have liked it. So if you like your pasta thin, like spaghettini, then don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to roll it out more than you think you need. And this is feeling really kind of nice, but I don't think we're at spaghettini. That's the nice thing about the pasta machines. It makes everything so much more. All the thicknesses are the same, you know. Like here, you might have perfect in the middle, and then around the edges, a little bit thicker. But hey, that's what makes it rustic. Now, this is the fun part. And again, this is what I found brings out the rustic in this. It's not even. It's not the same. There might be some pasta that is wider or thinner. It doesn't matter. At this point, I just roll it over. And there's, again, equipment that'll give you a lot more results that are perfect, but at this point, this is the way my grandmother used to do it. And I'll just cut like a linguine here. Always better with a very sharp knife. A dull knife would mash this, and it'll just give you some trouble. So don't be if you're doing it this way, don't be afraid about wider or thinner cuts. You're never going to get it all exactly the same. And so, here we go. Pasta. And that's ready to cook. You don't have to let it rest, although you make it ahead of time, and you just set it aside. This stuff, you could nest it and freeze it. But the one thing about that is that you have to be careful when you have to cook it frozen. If you freeze the pasta, you got to cook it frozen. And as you put your nests in, you should try to be careful about seeing that the nests come apart. So you might have to tease them apart a little bit, but you could literally just take to nest it, just take a little bit like that. I just like making a little snowball, and like that. Now what happens here, because dough has a natural tendency to revert back into its natural state, which is dough. As you do this, you have to remember that this is settling. And if it stays like that too long, it'll start to stick.